Welcome to Creating Disney Magic with Lee Cockrell. Lessons in leadership, management, and customer service. You can create magic too. I'm your host, Jody Mayberry, and of course I'm here with Lee Cockrell. And Lee, we're getting into the better weather time of the year, which is certainly nice for me. I think you have it year-round down there in Orlando.
Yeah, we do, and it's really gorgeous right now. This is the best time of the year in Florida.
Well, Lee, we've added that segment at the end of each episode where we talk a little bit about time management, but here at the top of the episode, I wanted to mention this new guide that we've put together to help people plan in the morning. So you have really just a brief routine that you do every single morning to help yourself plan for the upcoming day. So we've put that together in a guide that you can download and start implementing right away. You can find it by going to leecockrell.com and just look around. It'll be right there for you. So, Lee, we're going to move into listener questions this week. This question is from Alex Carlson. Alex says that he's a big fan of your resources and more specifically, your people-first leadership mentality. Alex says, I've shared several of your podcasts with both my coworkers and senior leaders in our organization, all who have appreciated your insight, especially in regards to leaders' influence in the customer service industry. So here's his question, though. In my time in the workforce, I've seen one specific trait that seems to separate influential leaders from the rest, and that trait is self-awareness. While I don't have research to back it up, it seems that there is a direct correlation between a leader's positive impact on others and their personal level of self-awareness. That said, here's my question. How would you recommend leaders and those aspiring to be leaders develop self-awareness? I think that's a great question.
Yeah, well, it is a good question, and there is a lot of research that actually does show that people with self-awareness are just better leaders, get better results from people. Actually, people trust them more. There's nothing like knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at because it helps you with your decision-making, and I'm not so sure you can get really good at it, but you can. There's some things you can do. I think some people just have it. And I'm sure it started way back when you were a little child and the way you were raised and how you were disciplined and all those kinds of things. But I would say the main way is that you got to have somebody who will tell you the truth about yourself. And I think we've talked about this before, is that none of us see ourselves the way we are. We all probably think we're pretty hot stuff, and other people don't rate us quite as high as we rate ourselves. I think one of the best things I did, we worked with the Gallup organization years ago, and they did a profile on me, and what I was really tells you what you're good at and what you're not so good at, and probably really emphasizes what you ought to stay out of. It was very clear to me the things that I had to work on because I think they rate you on like 22 different levels of getting along with groups of people, getting along with individuals, the courage to speak up, many, many areas. And actually, I think you can go on the website of Gallup, and they list some of those things. And it helped me quite a bit. My wife has helped me tremendously to understand that I need to do things a little differently and or things that I don't do as well. And I think we talked about this too. It's those personal traits that kind of gets you in trouble sometimes. As I told you early in my career, I was very defensive, and nobody likes to work with defensive people. Luckily, I had a boss who helped me work that out of myself, and he made me aware that it was really true and that the whole world didn't revolve around me, and tried to talk to me about why I probably was insecure, which was probably because of my childhood and the way I was raised and didn't have a college degree. And so I really overcame that attitude and that behavior when people gave me feedback. I didn't get defensive, and I didn't go to all battle stations every time. And I would say that one thing there for me helped my career dramatically, because we all know people who are very defensive, and every time you say something to them, even though you're trying to help them, they don't want to hear about it, deny it. It's somebody else's fault. When you get in a leadership job, a lot of people try to put on a face that they know everything, and certainly all the people around you know don't know everything, but it's kind of that thing that happens to us when we get into a position of authority, perhaps. Somebody said you can tell the real character of a person by giving them some power. And they start behaving totally different when they have some power. And so I think you can learn it. I think you can probably work with some people to, I mean, even I saw a psychologist for a while trying to understand why I was going through that anxiety problem I had. And he helped me really think about the same kind of thing of why I worry about certain things, probably what caused it, kind of helped me start to think about how to think differently and to not let things get blown out of proportion and not to overreact and not to overthink things, that they're never as bad as they seem at the moment. So self-awareness, it's a very interesting subject. I get a lot of feedback now from people because I do pretty positive things these days. And when you do positive things, people let you know when they appreciate you. And as you know, we get a lot of comments about how much people appreciate the podcast or the books or me spending time with them on the phone or those kinds of things. So I must say that the more positive feedback I get in my life, the more secure I become and more I feel better about myself. And that self-esteem issue that we all need to work on all the time so that we push harder and do more. As I've said in the past, I think the average person out there underestimates what they can achieve. And that's one of the things you want to try to overcome. So self-awareness is you got to use every tactic you can, whether it's taking some profiling things that are out there. Gallup does a good one. There are many that do profiling to kind of give you an idea. It's a questionnaire. You give the answers. They analyze it. They tell you probably the way you think, how you could think differently, what you should probably not get involved in, probably who you should have around you to take care of things that you're not very good at. The real strength is when you spend all your time on what you're really good at and get other people. That's why you're doing the podcast and you do the editing and you do all that. You're an expert at that. And I have a self-awareness that I have neither the patience or probably even I don't even want to do it. And that's probably just the way I'm wired. And so I've talked about that many times. There's nothing wrong with not being able to do something. If you can just become aware of what that is, then you go get yourself an expert around you, or you go out and hire somebody to do it. Or as we always talk about, you don't have to do everything. You just got to get everything done. And it doesn't mean you personally have to do it. And that was one of the big learnings for me, that I always thought I had to put on a good face and send the message to everybody that I knew everything and I didn't need any help. And that's just not the case today. I easily tell people what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. I'm surrounded by lots of experts. It's kind of like I've got a long list of doctors. As I get older, my doctor list gets longer. And I go see them when I got a problem. I don't try to solve it myself on Dr. Google. And the other way to think about it is, do you really want to know? Because if you sit and think about what you're good at and what's not working and what is working, probably what you enjoy and what you don't enjoy is a good indicator, or what areas you might not. Like I didn't enjoy the whole finance thing. I don't like dealing with financial statements. I don't like plowing through them. And that's something a person in my position, if I put that out there, people could say, wow, this guy, he can't do this job. He's not even on top of the finance. But I ended up hiring a finance person around me, and they helped me and they guided me. And my boss was good at some things, and he wasn't good at certain things. And I was good at certain things and not so good at certain things. And I think I learned that lesson probably the last 20 years of my career, that I didn't really understand the first 20. So that's, I think, how you have to think about it. I'm sure there's other ways out there, but generally it's a big issue and a big problem. And it's a big problem in marriages too, not only work. Not understanding what you're not, as my wife said, I need to learn to apologize more sincerely. And that's still hard for me somehow, because that's that defensiveness lurking way down there in my stomach somewhere, or in my brain. Because some of the things, the way you are is the way you are. And you see it with your own kids, I'm sure. They're totally different. So it's a very interesting subject, and it can help you a lot if you get it under control. And it can really damage you if you don't get a good understanding of what it is that is causing you not to be able to get everything done you want to do, or it's interfering with your life. So I'll just kind of stop there, and that's a subject many people talk about.
Lee, one of the things I'm picking up from your answer is that first you've got to be self-aware that you want to be self-aware. You have to actually want to make the improvement. But even if you're at that point, you're not good enough to do it on your own in the way that you don't see yourself the way others do. Some of the things you think you're good at, you may not really be good at. And some of the problems you're having, you may not even have any clue it's an idea. So you really need someone else that you trust, that is willing to speak into what you're doing and offer you advice and counsel into what's really happening.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, we were just this week with somebody, and I'm going to tell you, this person has a problem. They never, ever quit talking. You can't get a word in edgewise, and it becomes annoying after a while because everything's about them. And a lot of people have that problem. There's no question that everything's about me, and I'm not listening when you don't listen. And this annoys people over time. They don't want to spend time with you. And if you do it in business, it annoys your clients that you're not listening to what they're telling you. So that is one that a lot of people have. And I think most husbands get accused of not listening properly. So it's one they can think about. But yeah, it's really a big issue. And I'm sure you know many people, and I know many people that I just wish I could tell them the truth. But they don't really seem to want it. And it's awkward. It's hard to do it. It's awkward. Yeah, even relatives, we have relatives that we just wish they wouldn't behave a certain way or say things or do things and I'm sure you have them, I have them, and it's very awkward to try to correct somebody. So maybe professional help to go out there, companies out there that'll help you understand what your issues are and what you're good and not so good at. And I think a lot of these surveys companies are doing today, also these 360-degree surveys, the leaders are getting good, strong feedback. I saw Wells Fargo just today announced they're going to do a survey of all 260,000 of their employees to find out what the culture really is at Wells Fargo, because they're so concerned about what was going on with this whole mortgage banking issue. So they're going to find out a lot of things. That's what they want to do. And so you just got to keep working on ways to try. And one way, being sincere with somebody. Certainly my wife has no problem telling me the truth, but even if I said to a good friend, just tell me, what is it? Is there anything I do that annoys you or anything you wish I to do better? I think still people are not going to tell you. The average person's not going to tell you unless you've been friends for 100 years and they're willing to.
So if that's the case, that most people aren't willing to say anything, what led your former supervisor, who actually did you the tremendous favor by explaining you were too defensive? What kind of relationship did you have where he told you that?
Well, he was one of those special people that had no problem telling anybody what he thought about them. And he was a big burly guy, and he kind of grew up kind of like I did in family situation. And I think he liked me. He knew I had a lot of talent with the technical competency. I knew how to do my job, but he was trying to help me get to be a better person and a better leader and be perceived better by people. I was lucky, frankly. That's why I always tell you, people come to me and say, can you be my mentor? And I said, no. I can't be your mentor unless I work with you and see you in action. And that's what he did. And I had a couple of people like that in the workplace because, I tell people I can give you advice, but I can't mentor you because I'm not in the meeting watching how you speak to people. I'm not around you. I don't see you overreacting. So an advisor and a mentor, that's two different things.
Yeah. So this leads me to the last question. If you work with somebody, maybe you're their supervisor, and you see they have a trait that maybe they're too defensive, how can you best approach them with this to have the impact with them the way your supervisor did with you? Because as you said, it's not an easy thing. It's not something friends or family usually want to tell you. And it can be even harder at work to tell somebody, look, you're not that enjoyable to work with.
Yeah. Well, I think hopefully you're the kind of leader, kind of like the parent who has to discipline their children. You don't want to, it hurts when you have to have those tough conversations. But hopefully we're trying to help people through all kinds of leadership development and training and trying to catch them up to be the kind of leaders that tell the truth. Because I think the one thing I always remember now, when I tell somebody the truth, I'm doing it for them. It's not for me. It's for them. Their future can be better or can be worse, depending on my courage to sit down and tell them exactly my point of view and the way I see things. And we can discuss it. We can go back and forth. But at the end of the day, I don't ever want to be in a situation where one of my people got fired because I withheld information that I could have told them 3 months ago or a year ago, and they just kept digging deeper and deeper into the hole, and then they ended up getting fired. I would say anytime somebody gets fired, usually the boss is at least 50% responsible for that. They could have stopped that early. They could have stopped those bad behaviors way down the line when they first appeared. So just hope we are good leaders with integrity and honesty, and we're going to do the right thing. If you can't do that, it's you're not a very effective leader, and you're pretty much irresponsible, in my opinion. And I had to learn that because I couldn't do it early on either. I couldn't even fire somebody. I had a very difficult time telling people sensitive things. So you got to really have a conversation with yourself about what your level of integrity and honesty and what level of responsibility you think you have to somebody's future, which is big. It's like you have a huge understanding of your responsibility to develop your children and to have the tough conversations and do all the tough things, and because you want them to have a great and wonderful life and turn out great. And that's the same with any leader. And I think if you think that way, then you will start doing things even though they're hard. I'll always say the night before you have to do it, you're going to be miserable. And after you do it the next day, you're going to be happy that you did. And frankly, eventually they will be too. I still get notes back from people that I had tough conversations with 10, 15, 20 years ago, thanking me and telling me where they are now. And they think that conversation helped them dramatically. So, and you see, we get them on the podcast. People write to us, say, thanks, I heard that. I just got another one today about my anxiety problem. Guy wrote me and said he just wanted to tell me how much he appreciated me talking about that because he had the same issue. So there you are. That's self-awareness, I guess.
Yeah.
Knowing I was going through that and able to talk about it to help other people. And it helped me too to talk about it.
Yeah. And you bring up so many great points in that answer. And I think if you were to pull one of my kids aside and ask them, what's your dad's job as a father? And they will tell you to help me grow into a responsible adult. And I think you have to approach leadership that way as well. Your job as a leader is to help the people that are in your care that report to you to develop them into responsible leaders as well.
Oh, it's true. And as long as you keep that as your number one goal in life with your kids and as a leader in business with your fellow employees and cast members, and you're going to leave a legacy. You're going to help people. And, we always talk about this. When you help people that you work with and their job and their career and their life gets better because you sent them in the right direction, just think about how much better their kids' lives going to be and their kids and their kids down the line, because you're creating a different culture and an environment and a person that starts to know that then they have to do it too. You did it for them, then they're going to do it for the next person. And, everybody's watching us and they learn from us. My grandson sent me a letter the other day and he said how much he had learned from me watching me. And he said, I hope you're not finished teaching me, Pappy, because I'm not finished learning. So when you're young, that role modeling is everything. So we talk about that a lot. Our kids are learning all the time, 24/7, just by listening, watching, and being around. And so are your employees. So our own self-awareness will help them when we behave ourselves and get focused on the right things.
Well, Lee, I am self-aware enough to know that I have let us go a little over on time. So we're going to wrap this episode up. But if you want to get Lee's guide on planning your morning, I know you don't want to miss this. So go to leecockrell.com. That's where you can find it. You'll also find Lee's other information on leadership management and customer service, including all the past episodes of this podcast. Until next week, go out and create magic for others.